Hey there, F1 fans. Have you ever wondered if the ever-expanding F1 calendar is becoming a bit too much for the drivers and their teams? In this video, we'll explore the growing concern about race schedules, the fatigue faced by everyone involved, and why major changes could be on the horizon. While it's great for drivers to enjoy a long break, what comes afterward may be more challenging than expected. We're talking about triple headers, jet lag, and a demanding race pace. Stick around till the end to hear why this might just be the biggest challenge F1 has faced in years and how it could shape the future of the sport. Let's dive right in. The F1 calendar has grown significantly in recent years, and the long breaks between races are now being seen as more of a challenge than a relief for drivers and teams alike. While having 2 4-week breaks in a year sounds nice on paper, the intense and chaotic schedule that follows often leaves everyone, from drivers to pit crews, feeling overwhelmed. Could this lead to changes in how the season is structured? With so many voices in the paddock expressing concerns about the current situation, it's likely that the calendar could see some serious adjustments in the near future. Formula One has always been an evolving sport, but with that comes a harsh reality: exhaustion. The sheer number of races, combined with the rush to make it to every circuit, is draining for drivers. They're expected to maintain peak performance even when they have barely a week to recover between events. Add to that the physical toll of each race, and it's no wonder why a second 4-week break has been added for the 2024 season. While this gives drivers more time to recharge, the downside is the introduction of back-to-back triple-header weekends with just a short breather in between. The newly introduced 4-week autumn break, which stretches from Singapore to Austin, might become a regular feature in upcoming seasons. It's clear that drivers struggle to adapt quickly to different tracks, especially when races are located in vastly different time zones, such as the jump from Las Vegas to Qatar. Last season, when drivers had to go straight from the glitzy Vegas event to the Abu Dhabi finale, the fatigue was palpable. Jet lag and shifting time zones took a toll on the entire crew, and top drivers like Max Verstappen and George Russell openly criticized this aspect of the schedule. The concern now is, with the calendar set to grow even more, how will F1 manage to balance race demands with the well-being of everyone involved? FIA and Formula One seem intent on pushing the number of races up to 26 per year, with the Madrid Grand Prix joining the lineup in 2026 and Barcelona staying on the calendar for the foreseeable future. If that happens, drivers may find themselves tackling up to 25 or more races in a season. Veterans like Alonso, Verstappen, and Hamilton have voiced concerns about the constant travel and the increasing number of street circuits, which are often seen as more grueling and less suited to traditional F1 cars. The demand on drivers, not just physically but mentally, is higher than ever. These circuits are more challenging, and the lack of recovery time between races makes it even tougher to maintain their performance throughout the season. So why is this second break so crucial for the drivers? The answer lies in what happens immediately after. The first 4-week summer break is mandatory, meaning no work is allowed on the cars during that time. Teams are restricted from making upgrades or improvements, giving everyone a true pause. In contrast, the autumn break is different. While it offers a break from the races themselves, teams can still work on strategies and car simulations, which can give them an edge as the season progresses. For drivers, this break is a chance to unwind, but they must quickly shift gears for the triple-header races that follow, and the pressure builds up all over again. This autumn break also serves another purpose: grouping races together to minimize the impact of constant travel. Races in far-flung locations like Japan and Qatar have been repositioned to reduce the amount of time teams spend battling jet lag. In 2023, drivers had little time to recover between the spectacle of Las Vegas and the season finale in Abu Dhabi, leaving many physically drained. Both Verstappen and Russell spoke out about the exhaustion they felt after flying across time zones, with many drivers struggling to adjust. These long-distance, back-to-back races place incredible strain on the drivers' bodies, making it harder for them to perform at their best. However, while this break aims to give drivers and teams a breather, it also forces them into back-to-back triple headers at the end of the season. This means that after 4 weeks of rest, they'll face the challenge of intense racing, with just a single week to recover between these grueling stints. Last season, George Russell openly admitted that many of his team members were worn out by the time they reached the finale in Abu Dhabi. Mechanics and engineers, constantly traveling and adjusting to different time zones, were falling ill and losing motivation. Russell acknowledged that while drivers have it relatively easy compared to the rest of the paddock, the strain on the crew is unsustainable. To address these concerns, Russell suggested that Formula One consider introducing rotating crew teams, a concept that might help reduce the fatigue for mechanics and engineers who travel to every single race. The toll of constant travel is evident, as drivers like Esteban Ocon also fell ill after the intense schedule last season. He welcomed the addition of the autumn break, which gave the teams a much-needed rest before heading into the most intense part of the season. Ocon echoed Russell's concerns, highlighting that after the Las Vegas race, many team members were completely destroyed by the demanding schedule, and illnesses spread quickly within the paddock. Max Verstappen, known for his dominance on the track, has also been vocal about the growing race calendar. He's hinted that if things continue in this direction, with more races being added and time zones being difficult to manage, he might consider retiring earlier than expected. Verstappen has always emphasized that while he loves racing, the logistics of flying from one corner of the world to another in a short span, especially when events like Las Vegas and Qatar are so close together, makes it hard even for athletes at his level. It's not just about physical fatigue, it's the constant switching between vastly different time zones that takes a toll, both mentally and physically. Verstappen also pointed out that the increasing number of triple headers, 3 races on consecutive weekends, places an additional strain on drivers. While he understands the need for efficiency, he believes it would make more sense to keep these races geographically closer together. The back-to-back travel from places like Las Vegas to Qatar, and then straight to Abu Dhabi, creates unnecessary pressure. According to Verstappen, grouping these races more effectively would help alleviate some of the fatigue that comes with long-haul flights and drastic time zone changes. He feels that if F1 is going to continue expanding the calendar, it should be done in a way that minimizes travel stress for everyone involved. Another aspect drivers have to contend with is the extreme weather conditions at certain circuits. Locations like Qatar and Abu Dhabi can be brutally hot for most of the year, making it nearly impossible to schedule races during the summer. That's why the Qatar Grand Prix has been moved to late November, when temperatures are a bit more manageable. But even with this adjustment, it remains a challenge for drivers and teams. In response to the heat, Formula One has opted to hold more night races, with circuits like Bahrain switching to evening events back in 2014. This change helps ease the strain on drivers, but it doesn't eliminate the overall fatigue caused by the relentless pace of the season. Verstappen has also raised concerns about Formula One's focus on maximizing ticket sales, sometimes at the expense of considering the physical demands on drivers. For instance, while the Las Vegas to Qatar leg might make sense from a ticketing and financial standpoint, it's grueling for those competing. The Dutch driver believes there needs to be a balance between profitability and the well-being of everyone in the sport. A 10-hour time difference between races is no small feat to overcome, and drivers often find themselves arriving in new countries with little time to adjust. Verstappen argues that while ticket sales are important, the sport must find a middle ground that considers the human aspect of the competition. In addition to the physical and mental fatigue, Verstappen highlighted another growing issue: health risks. As the season progresses, drivers and team members are more likely to fall ill. The constant changes in environment, from different climates to varying time zones, weaken the body's natural defenses. Verstappen explained that at the end of the season, when the drivers are already tired, it becomes easier to get sick. The long flights between far-off races only make this worse, and spending extended periods in airplanes doesn't help the situation. This is why the end-of-season schedule, with races spread far apart, needs to be reconsidered if F1 wants to maintain the high level of competition it's known for. It's clear that the expanding F1 calendar is creating new challenges for drivers and teams alike. With races like the Las Vegas Grand Prix now part of the schedule, along with new additions coming in 2026, the sport is navigating uncharted territory. Verstappen's concerns reflect a broader conversation happening within the paddock. How can Formula One maintain its global appeal and continue growing while ensuring that drivers and crews are not stretched too thin? The possibility of more races being added in the future means that scheduling will have to be handled more carefully than ever before. With the F1 calendar only set to grow, drivers like George Russell and Max Verstappen have started advocating for changes to how the sport manages its grueling schedule. One suggestion is to implement rotating teams, which would allow crew members to take breaks without missing any races. This would help alleviate some of the exhaustion mechanics, engineers, and other team members face throughout the season. Another idea being discussed is limiting the number of street circuits, which are often more demanding on both the cars and drivers due to their tight, unforgiving nature. At the same time, Formula One is working towards a larger goal, achieving carbon neutrality by 2030. Part of this involves organizing the race calendar in a way that minimizes unnecessary travel. Grouping races geographically, as we've seen with some of the recent adjustments, helps reduce the carbon footprint of the sport. However, there's still room for improvement. Drivers like Verstappen have pointed out that while these efforts are commendable, more can be done to ensure the calendar is more environmentally friendly without overburdening the teams. Another key factor that's adding to the already intense schedule is the increase in sprint races. While these shorter events bring excitement and extra points to the championship, they also add pressure to the drivers. With 6 sprint races already part of the calendar and discussions about increasing that number to 8 in the near future, it's clear that the total number of races is effectively closer to 30, not just 24. This adds even more demands on drivers' time and energy, as every point counts in a championship that can be won or lost by the slimmest of margins. For drivers like Verstappen, the combination of a packed calendar, increased travel demands, and additional sprint races may push them to rethink their future in the sport. Verstappen has already hinted that if the schedule continues to grow and the demands increase, he may consider an early retirement. His comments reflect the growing sentiment among drivers who feel that the balance between their professional and personal lives is being disrupted. The glamour and thrill of Formula One remain, but the toll it takes on the body and mind is becoming harder to ignore. So, what's next for Formula One? With new races on the horizon, the FIA and F1 management will need to find a solution that satisfies both the fans and the drivers. Expanding the sport without overwhelming those who make it happen will be a delicate balance. It's clear that while adding more races may boost the sport's global reach, it could also lead to more problems, including burnout and increased health risks. Moving forward, the conversation between the drivers, the teams, and the sport's organizers will be key to finding the right path. With all that being said, what do you think? Can Formula One find a way to expand its calendar while keeping its drivers and teams fresh and focused? Or are we heading towards a situation where too much of a good thing could hurt the sport? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to check out the video on your screen for more F1 content. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.